Welcome everyone to today's Top Azure Cost Management webinar. We appreciate you taking the time to spend an hour with us on some of the best things that we found when it comes to your top Azure Cost Management services. Today, I'm lucky enough to have a nice panel with me. I have Chris Pyle, who's the president of MessageOps. They're a division of Sirius. My name's Kevin Vogel. I'll be your host. I'm the Modern Workplace Specialist, and we'll have Chris Johnson on here. He's one of our top solution architects. You want to say hello, Chris?
Hello, Chris.
All right, so let's get on here and get going. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions during this, there is a question and answer bot available to you on your live event form here, so you can ask us questions along the way. I'll probably be monitoring them, asking questions to both Chris's, since we have Chris and Chris on here. So if you want to do that, go ahead and ask your questions along the way. We are recording this. We are going to be sending you the presentation that we're doing here at the end. You'll also have access to the recording that you can share with other people. Those are usually the first couple of questions that I get on almost every one of our webinars. So today we're going to walk through just a quick introduction of MessageOps. Then we're going to talk about a brand new thing, FinOps, or financial opportunities in the cloud that you're going to find out about. Then we're going to go through the Azure Cost Management tools. And lastly, Chris is going to demonstrate Inscape Anomaly. He's going to do an overview and a demo. And of course, we're going to try to answer all those questions that you might ask along the way. Chris, you want to add anything?
No, I think it's going to be exciting, really. I think we're hoping that we provide some real value, give you some nuggets that you can chew on and bring back to the others in the organization. We really believe this will be good use of your time. So Kevin, let's quickly blow through this.
Yeah, we'll blow through these. This is just a little brag slide, Chris, as you know. The things that we've done, we got over 125 Microsoft certifications, way over 500 successful projects for different corporations all around Azure. And you can see that, we'll do everything from the basic Azure deployments where we're migrating all the way through very large implementations for customers that have tens of thousands of virtual machines actually running in their environment. And brand new, well, not new, but brand new to a lot of our customers is our managed service for Azure, which is 7x24x365. You can start taking advantage of that. This is just, again, some of the things that we do. We have over 7,500 companies that are using MessageOps software and have been doing that for 12 plus years with us. Over 7 million seats have been migrated up to Office 365 and trained well over 300,000 people in Teams and how to adopt it for collaboration, communication, and so on. 500,000 endpoints are secured with things like Endpoint Manager, which is now Intune and SCCM combined. And there's thousands of workloads, like I said, that we've deployed. And MessageOps, with our own unique IP, we provide more value than any other Microsoft Cloud partner by far. Right, Chris?
Yeah, that's what we really strive for, because at the end of the day, the commodity is the Microsoft Cloud. Okay, it is. That is the commodity. It's really, what is the partner that you're working with? What are they providing? What unique IP? What services are they providing? That is the value. Because it's pretty easy, to migrate to the cloud. It's making it valuable. That's the real trick.
And let's be honest, Chris, there's a lot of gold partners out there that have all these gold certifications. They kind of have to nowadays, right? That's like table stakes when it comes to a Microsoft partner. But if you look at some of the awards that we got, and I know the one that you're most proud of is the Customer Sat Award that we got from Microsoft and the Cloud Partner of the Year Award, both from Microsoft. Am I right?
Yeah, those are awesome. Once again, at the end of the day, customer satisfaction, what it's all about here at Sirius. and of course MessageOps, and that's really an important thing. So thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here, Chris, of what we came to talk about today. And what is FinOps anyway, Chris?
All right. Well, let's start off with FinOps. So FinOps really, right, is financial operations. And I wish we could have a little show of hands here. I don't know, but the reality of it is that I don't know if these are all, hopefully everybody who's on the call today is an Azure or cloud focused person or a cloud person that is moving forward on this journey with your organization or even leading the journey. I strongly recommend, ladies and gentlemen, that you join the FinOps Foundation. So it's FinOps.org. It is run by the Linux Foundation. It's a complete nonprofit, but we really strongly recommend that you join this as a cloud leader in your organization. And what the FinOps is, it's the operating model for the cloud. It's a combination of systems, best practices, a culture to increase an organization's ability to understand cloud costs and become more efficient. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we can't do this all by ourselves, all right? The cloud is a new frontier. And the FinOps.org Foundation, again, it's a completely independent group. It's run by the Linux Foundation. If you're not part of it, I would strongly recommend that you do become part of it. They have multiple different levels of memberships, from free memberships up to corporate and all different types. But there's a lot of great information as IT professionals, cloud professionals that are out there. And today, as we go through this content, right, Kevin, a lot of this we're taking right from the FinOps because we are a member of FinOps and we really believe in what the FinOps Foundation is doing. And I strongly believe after you come up and look at it, it's a completely independent organization. Sirius is just nothing but more than a member. There's, I think there's over 3,000 companies now that are there. But why don't we move on to the next slide, Kevin? So when you look at the phases of FinOps, the first one is we, the IT professionals, right? We need to help the organization out. In the first phase of FinOps, it's talking about inform. All right, we need to be able to give the visibility, okay, for allocation and creating shared accountability by showing the teams what they're spending and why. Okay, so this, when you look at it, this is a team sport, right, Kevin? If this is just IT in here and you're all trying to work on your own, it's not going to work, okay? It's this whole transformation, this whole next generation of management, it's really a team sport. We're going to talk about that, but it's really important that the tools that you have provide great information, actionable information. The next one, Kevin, is
Chris, it's not just technical information, is it? It's business information also, right?
That's exactly what it is. It's not even technical. We're talking about cost management here, right? And It's really coming down to, it's not really that technical. We're going to go over some technical stuff, but really the whole FinOps Foundation and the whole premise around this FinOps, this financial operations, is really around the financial capabilities. But the other thing that you got to focus on is now optimize. So you got the inform piece, you got the optimize piece. And optimize empowers your teams to identify, right, measure the efficiencies of the optimizations, and then make goals based on those opportunities. And that's really key. And then the last one, of course, is the operate. It's really then defines how you execute the processes that enable the goals of the technology, the finance, and the businesses that need to be achieved. So really, those are the phases of the FinOps, cloud. And at the end of the day, it's bringing financial accountability to the variable spend model of cloud. That's really what this whole thing is in shorthand, right? It's bringing the financial accountability to the variable spend model of the cloud. So the first thing is we want to talk about teams need to collaborate. I cannot stress this. We have deployed, thousands, tens of thousands of Azure workloads It's one thing to get you to the cloud, but it's another thing to manage and optimize it. And I am telling you, the most successful people, the most successful organizations are the ones who have teams. The cloud center or the cloud cost operation efficiencies. Okay, it's a team that needs to collaborate together. You know what's crazy? As I remember, Kevin, back in the day, it wasn't too long ago. I'll show my age, but I used to go to purchasing when I wanted to buy a server. I had to create a purchase order. Purchasing was centralized.
You also had to have a business reason, right? Why you're spending the money. Didn't you have to go out for 3 bids?
I mean, all different types of things where, centralized procurement. But now everything is as a service. We don't have that centralized procurement as much as we did. Chris Johnson, who's on with me, he can spin up a server, if it's in the policies tomorrow. He doesn't need to go get a purchase order for that. Okay. So we really need to bring in the organizations, and we need teams to collaborate the next generation of IT efficiencies, which part of that IT efficiency has to be finance. Okay, Kevin. And then really the business value of the cloud, really decisions are driven by business value. Helping internal teams benchmark, best practices, celebrate the wins of what's happening, working with industry peers, benchmarking and determining how your company is performing against like companies. This is really important. Okay, not that you're looking internally, but how are you doing compared to your brethren in the cloud business? And another reason why we strongly recommend that you do sign up, for FinOps.org, because that is where you can start comparing yourselves and benchmarking how are you doing versus your peers, and maybe having a peer network of people. And again, completely outside of the vendor community or whatever, but here at Sirius, we do recommend that you do sign up for that. The next, Kevin, is everyone has to take ownership for their cloud usage. Okay, this cannot be an IT thing. That is the last thing. You will fail if everybody blames IT. All right, we need everybody in the business line down the stream needs to take ownership. Okay, the marketing team who is running their website has to take ownership for what they're spending, how they're spending it, the speed, performance. We need to work in collaboration. The web store front, owner, DevOps, SQL, all of these different people in the different departments that are running these all have to take ownership for the cloud usage. It cannot be all put on just IT anymore. It just can't be. It won't be successful. Next one. Now, again, I do think that, the FinOps, the financial operation report should be accessible and timely to support all these different ownership business units that are collaborating. And that's really important. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about a little bit here in just a few minutes about what reports should you have and some of the things that you might not find out of the box that we're going to point out to you. Next, Kevin. And this is another one, a centralized team that drives the financial operations. And we're going to talk about what that team is made up of. But it's important that this is something that you just don't set up once and forget it. This is a living, breathing animal that you have here. Chris Johnson's going to show you how much it's like just within, it almost looks like a stock market, Chris Johnson always says, when you're looking at how you can control your costs. And this centralized team has to be there. It's got to be made up of multiple departments. We're going to show that in a second, but it's really important. And then the last one, Kevin, is we need to take advantage of the variable model of cloud. A lot of people are not, okay? They're lifting and shifting applications from on-premise to the cloud. There, some basic things such as turning on, turning off workloads, scheduling workloads, and not using Azure Workload Scheduler. They're just not taking advantage of the variable cost model of the cloud. But these are the 6 principles of the FinOps that we would recommend. Again, you'll learn more about this when you join the organization of FinOps.org. Next one, Kevin. So when we talk about this, who are the stakeholders? And we're talking about this team, okay? You look at the executive, and the executives focus on driving accountability, building transparency okay, and assure that the teams are being efficient and not exceeding budgets, okay? And there's some examples in here. You guys might have your own titles, but if you don't have these titles, you don't have somebody focused on this from an executive level, it's okay. Listen, this is a maturity model, and there's all different types of levels of people we have on here and where you are on your journey to the cloud. But we have seen the absolute best companies have executive people in this cloud team. Then you have FinOps practitioners, okay? These are focused on forecasting spend, okay? Forecasting spend, allocating budgeting to cloud spend. That's important. These are the business product owners, directors of cloud, cloud analysts, business operations managers. And then over on the left, you see finance and procurement, all right? And again, they are there. We're not saying they're not important, but their role has changed as everything has become as a service. And then engineering and operations focus on building and supporting services for the organization. And it's so interesting is what we're seeing leading edge companies do is they're introducing cost as a metric in the same way that performance metrics are tracked and monitored. We're starting to see now that engineering and operations have to all of a sudden, where they never really were involved with cost, they now must take cost into consideration when designing and building and operating things, because if not, it's going to get out of hand. So these are the stakeholders in that cloud team and that FinOps team.
But Chris, it's funny that this looks like we used to do for projects, right? But they were short-term teams, right? They would roll out an application and these people would be involved. The difference now is this is long-term, right? This is something that is ongoing for a long period of time.
Yeah, this is definitely a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're not going to be done with it. It's just a way of a business, and it's really requires a cultural shift of how IT, business owners, finance, procurement, the engineering and operations work together. Okay, we have to be one team. Now, we spoke a little bit about this, and we really strongly recommend, ladies and gentlemen who are on the call, please look at FinOps.org. It's a completely independent, it's run by the Linux Foundation, but there's some really good things there on how you as a cloud professional are going to move to the next journey, the next level of our careers, the next level of thought leadership. But we also here at Sirius highly recommend that you follow an adoption framework, some cloud adoption framework. Now, the one that we practice and the one that we follow is the Microsoft CAF, or the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure. Now, Chris Johnson, I can't remember the last time I checked. This Cloud Adoption Framework was, how many pages was it? I think it was
938 the last time I looked, like a month ago. But by the way, it could be bigger than that now.
Yeah, I think as last time I saw it was around 900 pages. Now, we don't expect every end user to understand those 900 pages. That's the job of what we do here at MessageOps and Sirius. Okay, that's our job. That's what we do for a living. But this cloud adoption framework, okay, it really, that along with the FinOps, .org, we believe really blends in the best of what an independent organization like FinOps.org. Plus, if you're running in Azure, you might want to follow their framework about how they do things. Now, a lot of you, I don't know where everybody is on your journey, and I don't know everybody on the call. What we're starting to get more and more engaged with is the bottom two. We're really starting to get more and more engaged with this governance. Okay, I moved to the cloud, but my God, how do I get control of the spend? How am I charging back people? How do I, put something together that's more scalable? What are Azure blueprints? What is Azure policies? How do those help me in my financial operations of the cloud? And of course, the management. But I think what I would just like all of you to take away, when we talk about the best tools and the best practices around Azure management. These two that we just went over are not necessarily tools, but more of framework and guidance and theory, and working alongside other professionals like yourselves. When we bring up FinOps to a lot of our organizations, a lot of customers didn't even know there was such a group that actually focuses on financial operations of the cloud that's completely independent of any vendor. So we really recommend you look at that, and we really recommend the cloud adoption framework. Now, we at Sirius have developed something we call Glide Path for governance in Azure. And it really takes down, like you said, it was 900 pages and really puts it into more of a consumable, digestible.
More of a structured format.
Right, than just going ahead and reading 900 pages. But, from there. So those are two big tools, or two big things we want you to look at. Is, again, FinOps.org, and please look up the Microsoft CAF framework if you're not familiar with it, and if you're not adhering to it. Again, as professionals, I'd recommend you look at the cloud adoption framework for Azure. Okay.
We're actually going to give them a link to it at the end of the presentation, so you'll be able to find it on Microsoft's site.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to go through this now. Again, we're going to talk about this. So we got inform, right? That was the first layer. Okay, and understand the fully loaded costs, the tagging strategies and compliance, creating show back and charge back reporting, map spending to businesses, right? Benchmark performance. Well, here's all the Azure native tools that can help you with this. And Chris Johnson is going to jump through these here in a few minutes, and we're going to move on. But we see so many customers, right, Chris Johnson, that immediately want to run out and buy a third-party tool. We sell a lot of third-party tools, okay? We do. But a lot of them even haven't turned on the basic tools that come with Azure, right, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big fan of a lot of those third-party tools. They're very reputable. We, as you mentioned, we sell a lot of them. But as you can see right there, Azure Monitor is the overarching product to keep a stranglehold on what's going on inside of your Azure subscriptions. Azure Advisor I use almost every day to at least from a high level, just to start talking to customers about what we can do, not just from a cost perspective, but to overall just look at things from a governance and security, and just seeing what's going on inside of all of their Azure subscriptions. Continuing on, the alerting, just so you're aware of what's happening, setting up simple budgets so you're not going to get any shocks at the end of the month, and utilizing tagging, which I mean, I've had my I've seen so many incredible applications for tagging. A lot of people, myself included, was thinking just tagging for cost and showback and such. But I mean, we can use tagging for automation. We can use tagging for governance. I use tagging when I'm doing infrastructure as code, when I'm doing Terraform development for customers. So, tagging is such a fantastic thing that if you're not using in your Azure environments, you should be. And then as you see down at the bottom, the cloud adoption framework, of course, is the overarching framework of how we come up with this. I mean, this isn't us. This is exactly what is being used across the Microsoft stack, and for those that are on AWS and Google Cloud Platform. These are very applicable to those other cloud environments as well.
Absolutely. And again, there's multiple. What we're suggesting here at MessageOps and Sirius, we love the Microsoft CAF. Okay, Amazon has theirs, Google has theirs. Everybody's got their own adoption framework. We adhere to the Microsoft one because we think it's great and it's applicable. And if you're like, well, I like this one better. Okay, great. As long as you have some framework that you're following, some type of North Star that you're adhering to, rather than just shotgunning this and woohoo, and it's almost goes back to the ITEL days, right? When, the ITEL days where you had some type of framework there. All right, Kevin, why don't we talk about the next stage? So the next stage really is the optimize we spoke about. And Chris, we're talking about enabling real-time decisions, optimizing usage here within the optimize phase. And you mentioned a couple tools, and I noticed that there's some crossover here as well. But you have Azure Advisor, Azure Policies, which is not in the first one here as Azure Advisor was, and then cost analysis. which also is not in the first one. So you want to just touch on policies and analysis before we show some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. Azure Policies, one of my favorite pieces inside of Azure. As Chris had mentioned earlier, you can have engineers inside of your environment spinning up different resources and doing different things inside of the environment that you may expect or may not expect. Azure Policies, similar to group policies, but for a cloud, will allow you to get a stranglehold against cost, against types of resources being deployed. From a governance perspective, it's data leakage, right? Maybe you don't want resources being deployed outside of the country or any of those things. And Azure Policies is going to allow you to do that. Microsoft does a pretty decent job with a standard out-of-the-box default policy that everybody gets, but there are hundreds and hundreds of these things, and it's very easy to create your own Azure Policies as well. Continuing on, just cost analysis of your Azure environment. We do a lot of cost management, a lot of cost analysis here at Sirius to make sure that you are, that you're taking advantage as much as possible of your Azure spend, right? We want to make sure that you are, whatever that dollar amount is, you're getting everything out of it that you can, and we're not wasting any dollars. And so using that cost analysis will allow you to optimize your Azure environments as well.
Absolutely. And with the policies, like you mentioned, Chris, there's so many different ways we can set up policies. And we worked with hundreds of different companies, setting up thousands of policies for them. And, again, if you don't want anybody spinning up, any type of VMs or any type of Azure resources, it's really, we can set up policies that, the policy, you can't spin up a resource unless it's tagged properly, unless it's has an associated, budget assigned to it. There's just so many policies you can set up, but it's really important. And the next one, Kevin, because I want to get on, because we don't have much more time. We want to get on some meat here. And that's the operate model. And here, it's really the optimized rates. We talk a lot about, licensing optimization, pre-purchase capacity opportunities, custom volume discounts. And then we talk about aligning the plans to the business. And again, we go over here, Chris, you talk about Azure Advisor, which we spoke about, policies, those. And then the big one that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to show you, is no matter what we have done with our customers, there's always some sort of cost anomaly that happens. And, how do you prevent that from happening? Have you ever been surprised by your Azure bill? And I can't find one company that says, yeah, every time it comes in, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. No. So, we've developed a very unique intellectual property, which is a Microsoft funded service that we call Anomaly. I'm going to show you. But again, I think I really just want to drive home here that, the FinOps requires a cultural shift that really comes down to the three, legs of the stool: the inform, the optimize, and the operate. And it does take a team of who's going to do what, who's responsible, and how often do we meet to track it. Okay. So Chris, I think we're just going to really go through this real quick here. I don't want to spend a lot of time on.
I agree. Yeah. These are just, we've all seen these inside of our Azure environments before, but these are for the folks that maybe have not seen Azure Monitor or Azure Advisor. This is really the quick way to get a high level overview of what's happening inside of your environment. To the left is Azure Monitor as a whole. To the right is Azure Advisor. There are other things that we can dive into a little bit deeper here, which I'll show you here shortly. But those are just some general Azure Monitor and Azure Advisor pages. Right here, we on the previous screen, Chris was mentioned, or he didn't mention it, but reserved instances is one of the tools that we use from an optimization perspective. For those that aren't aware, reserved instances is kind of as a way of paying up front for your Azure spend. And we are highlighting virtual machines right here, but it's not just VMs. This can be many Azure services, storage, SQL. It goes on and on and on. If you're not using RIs inside of your environment, I'm sure you're aware of it. RIs meaning reserved instances. I'm sure you've been made aware of it, and we could not recommend these enough.
Yeah, there's some huge opportunities there. And then this is one that surprises us, is the budgeting, right? The Azure budgets, when we get with customers, they have some sort of budget set up. Not everybody has one. They're not really taken seriously in some cases. Other cases, they're so restrictive that the customers is hard to do business with. But again, Azure budgets, Chris, right? Okay.
Apologies, didn't know I was muted. Yes, as budgets. I wish more organizations would use this, and again, with budgeting, you're able to get alerts and you're able to be notified of exactly how much a particular department is spending or how much a particular subscription is spending. Or if you're doing something for customers and you're spending resources for different customers that you're working with, to be aware of exactly how much they're spending so you can give them a heads up. Using budgets is a really underrated function in Azure, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we have a lot of experience working with customers on this for sure. And then Chris, this is talking a little bit about the policies.
Absolutely. This is just the homepage for Azure Policies. Again, there are many policies that we can help develop. At the bottom, you'll see ASC default stands for Azure Security Center. The default policies that they throw in. It's a really good way to get a stranglehold on what's going on inside of your Azure environment. Making sure that we're not getting any data leakage. One other thing I didn't even mention about policies is that if you have specific certifications inside of your organization that you're trying to achieve, ISO, whatever number you're trying to get, Azure Policies is a simple button we can click and boom, your entire environment is ready to roll for certification and auditing. So absolutely. Azure Policies all day long.
Yeah, we've seen that help a lot of clients out, whether it's HIPAA, whatever regulatory environment. Microsoft has many of those policies already adhered, it's set to, and like I said, push the button to get it deployed. And it's not that simple, but it's definitely easier than starting from scratch. And then absolutely. Chris, this is cost analysis, right?
Just the basic screen from the cost analysis page. We could spend hours on cost analysis, and what's great about the cost analysis is that anybody who has simple Excel experience can splice through this, create their own pretty reports based off of the entire historical data of your Azure environment. One of the things that I always like to just take a quick look at whenever I'm working with a customer and they're, hey, why is my Azure bill X amount of dollars this month? Typically, this is the very first page I go to. I'm like, okay, well, let me take a look to see what's historical and what's been going on. And that'll help me to dive into, okay, do we have virtual machine issues or storage issues or this issue or that issue? So if you're not keeping an eye on your forecasting, your general forecasting of your Azure environment, once again, I would highly recommend it. This is, again, a pretty basic screen that you'll see inside of every Azure subscription.
But again, it goes back to, I think, what we showed, right, was inform, optimize, and then operate. Just those quick little views of those tools, which are all inside the Azure, admin portal, can definitely help you. And we can provide a lot more deeper training on this. This was more of just an overview. Before we get into this Inscape Anomaly demo, Kevin, I wanted Chris to bring on something to show. I think everybody on this call is going to be pretty amazed with what it takes when we talk about a team effort, and that this is a living, breathing organism, this cloud thing, and how costs are constantly changing, and how we, the IT professionals, need to work with our business brethren on how to remain in control of our costs. Now, Chris, this is something that we do a lot with our customers, is going in and looking at what version of VMs are they running? Because a lot, right, Chris? A lot of times people spin these VMs up and they move on to the next phase and they forget. But what Chris is going to show you here, ladies and gentlemen, is you just cannot set it and forget it, because Microsoft, Google, AWS, whoever it is, they're always coming out with new things. And if you don't pay attention to this, it's going to burn you. They're going to just take money from you right away. They're just going to steal it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Chris, make this a little bigger if you don't mind. I'm one of the old guys.
Absolutely. Whoops. Sorry about that. Let me just zoom this in a little bit. How's this?
That's great. Okay, so Chris, before we go over here, where are we? What is this that we're looking at here? What is the audience?
So we're looking at the Azure Calculator. This is available to everybody. You can see in the URL azure.microsoft.com. I use the calculator a lot when we're going through scoping different projects and things of that nature for different customers. And one of the things that I noticed, going through Azure Advisor, a screenshot you saw earlier, Microsoft will tell you, hey, your machines are a little bit sized too big, or they'll say that maybe you're not using this resource, or you could save some money using that, or whatever it may be, reserved instances and things of that nature. But one thing that I noticed, and I noticed this, many months ago, there's not a recommendation for different versions of virtual machines. And as we know, Intel, AMD, they release new CPUs every year. And Microsoft purchases those new CPUs every year and drops them into their data center. And, they'll keep a lot of the older CPUs out there, but for those that have run their own data centers, that it costs more money to keep older hardware around. And those costs, a lot of the times, are being pushed onto you. So I've got a couple of estimates up here just to show you, and I just pulled these just recently. I mean, you can do this with many different regions, many different virtual machines. I'm not doing any wizardry here, but as Chris had mentioned earlier, keeping up with Azure cost, in my opinion, like he said, is kind of like the stock market. This stuff goes up and down. These costs change all the time.
Why don't you jump into it and just show them here? And this is what we're talking about, that companies like Sirius can help you design, this type of glide path for governance of how you're managing these. But Chris, this blows me away. So go ahead.
So we've got, right here, a D2 virtual machine here in the Western US region. And you can see that this virtual machine runs roughly 28 cents an hour. Nothing special about it. And it's a pay-as-you-go virtual machine. And if you ran this virtual machine roughly, 24/7, the average cost is about $112.42. And you can see that there's a 32% discount if you go with a 1-year reserved instance, and a 56% discount if you go with a 3-year reserved instance. That is for just a regular D2 virtual machine. Now, if I decide to use a newer VM, a D2 V3, so a higher version, a newer CPU, newer hardware, I get a big drop in my monthly rate. It's in my hourly rate. It's 20.9 cents an hour.
Wow.
And when you look at the reserved instances as well, and I'm not remembering the number I had over here. The reserved instance for this is slightly cheaper. You get a 57% discount on the 3-year versus 56% on the other one. I'm gonna show you another one here that's slightly more steep. But what I'm getting at is if you have 100 D2 V3 machines that you're running 24/7 and you're paying 28 cents an hour on it, you need to switch these to D2 V3s. It's a reboot of your virtual machine. It literally is just a reboot. You're not changing any specs other than getting a brand new CPU. And this, with a click of a button, saves your organization money. All right.
And this is the whole point here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, if people are on the phone on this meeting right now, when's the last time you went into the environment that you set up 18 months ago and went in and said, hey, is there a newer version of the CPU that's faster, provides more memory, and is cheaper? And listen, I'm just telling you, you're not alone if you're like, oh, I haven't done that. Well, that's okay, because you're not alone. Okay, but Sirius is here. We're here. We're telling you how to help you in this financial operations. It takes a constant motion. Chris, show them another example here. I think they're going to be really blown away on this.
Yep, I've got another one here, and this one is actually from a real live customer. They run roughly 118, 119 F4S virtual machines. Same thing. I was brought in to help them optimize costs and see what we can do for their Azure environment. They spend quite a bit of money on a month-to-month basis. And the F4S VMs was one that stuck out at me because I noticed that there weren't any versions for this. So this is version 1, 43.3 cents an hour. And again, you can see here with the reserved instances at 38% for 1 year and 59% for 3 years. Well, all I did was, okay, well, let's just look to see if we just bump this up. All right. So you can see right there, 43 cents an hour, dropping it to 39.6 cents an hour just by going. And the discount for their RI jumps all the way to 64% for 3 year reserved instance. So And just so you can see this number, a 3-year reserved instance for this virtual machine is $55.83. If I go back to the original VM and go to a 3-year RI, that's $75. Take that, that $20 savings times the 118 virtual machines times the 36 months.
Yeah, right. And so, yeah, it's Chris, it's really amazing. I know we could keep going on, but the question I want to ask you, the audience, is is your Microsoft partner helping you go through all of this? Are they looking at this like we would at Sirius? Is your Microsoft rep pointing this out to you, or are they just telling you, please make a 3-year commitment to reduce your cost? Well, yeah, that's easy. Okay, but providing value, that's hard. This is valuable. Now, maybe you don't have the time and energy to sit there and constantly looking at this and the manpower, but that's where companies like Sirius can help you, and what we do here at MessageOps. These are just one little thing. Listen, we only have a few minutes. We only got I can't believe how fast we went here. We want to take a few minutes of your time to show them Anomaly, if that's okay with you, Chris. Is there anything else you wanted to say before I take over?
Let's do it. Anomaly is a fantastic application that, again, continues to allow you to optimize your Azure environment. This is just one of those many tools.
Right. Well, Chris, again, congratulations. This is fantastic. There's a lot of thought and energy that has to go into this, but I think what we're trying to tell you here is, FinOps, financial operations in the cloud, it's not a one and done thing. Chris just showed you, if you bought something 12 months ago and you haven't gone in there like Chris has done and compare and contrast, hey, can I get a cheaper, faster, newer processor that's less money? That's something you have to constantly do here in FinOps, and we have to change the culture of this. Okay, it's not like we used to buy a server and we just run it till it's dead. No, new operation comes out, new semiconductors, new chips. It's going to bring the cost down, and we need to take advantage of that, right, ladies and gentlemen? That's what we're about. Okay, we're all cloud professionals, MessageOps, Sirius. We're really good at this stuff. Kevin, can I go over and take this screen?
Yep. Chris,
okay.
Share.
All right.
Sure.
All right. Listen, we got 20 minutes here, bro. Okay. Let me tell you what's happened. All of this stuff that Chris Johnson went through, all these freaking tools, I can still tell you this. We have hundreds of Azure customers, and we get calls and the customer goes, why is my Azure bill so high? And we're like, he goes, I have budgets, right? I have my policies, right? I have all of this. What the hell? Why did my bill go up? And there's 3 reasons, ladies and gentlemen, that we've come down to. 3. 1, there's a ghost in the code, right, Chris? There's a runaway query the customer saw. There was some type of runaway query. There was something in the code that caused a leakage. Something happened that it starts consuming these Azure resources. That's number 1. Number 2 is a human error. Hey, I spun up this resource, very expensive resource, and I forgot to turn it off. I mean, it's just that simple. Or I was doing a trial of something, and I forgot to turn it off. And I don't care what you budget for. People, this happens. Human error happens. Budgets, okay, do not, work. It's a budget is what, if everything runs perfect, this is what's going to happen. But humans are involved. Machine, going off on their own tangent. I had one customer, the guy was like, oh my God, why did my bill go up so high? We went out and looked at it, and he's like, oh my God, you're running this batch job that goes 4 hours a night. He goes, oh my God, I told that guy to run that batch job once a month, not once a night. And this is, again, just human error, but they didn't find out about that error till when, Kevin?
They got their bill.
When they got their bill, that's when they found out about it. And then the last one that we did, and I hate to say this, but it's true, it's the world we live in, malicious activity, where we had some bad actors who were, disgruntled employees that spun up resources or spun down resources and were caught, there and didn't know about it until it was too late when their Azure bill came in. So what we did is we created a machine learning product called Inscape Anomaly. And we sit at the Azure cost reader level. So it's very, very minimal access. Your security people are not going to be concerned. But let me go ahead and demonstrate that. I'm going to go ahead and share here. Let me know when you can see my screen, Kevin.
You can see it.
Okay, great. So this is part of our Inscape platform. And for those of you who are customers of ours, you're very familiar with Inscape, right? We provide all these different tools when you make us your Microsoft partner. This is just the newest one. This is called Anomaly. So what Anomaly is, again, is we come up, and I'm going to show you the settings. And we use machine learning, and you can go out and you can say, great, I want to configure a global setting for everything in the company, or I want to configure a setting for each subscription. So Inscape Anomaly automatically comes up and, you know, and knows all your subscriptions, and you can go ahead and set, you know, a different policy for each one of your subscriptions, but or you can send it for the whole company. Now, the first thing you do is you set up the anomaly detection sensitivity. And once again, this is not a tool. This is not a tool, ladies and gentlemen. I know everybody's getting tool fatigue. This is a service. This is using machine learning. Every single minute, it is looking at your costs and starting to learn. As a matter of fact, when you first install Inscape Anomaly, it goes back 60 days and automatically learns. It has a 60-day learning period, the machine learning does. But you can set up at the resource, so at the actual VM, network storage, you might say, you know what, I want the sensitivity to be on that, you know, maybe medium high, because I got a lot of resources. I don't want to be alerted every time of that. But the resource group that holds a lot of resources, I want that maybe to be a little bit higher. And then the real money comes in at the subscription level, because subscriptions hold plenty of resource groups, which hold a lot of resources, and I want that to be very high. And then you set up the notification, and you can say, look, only notify me when it's $3, $30, $300 higher than what the normal, you know, range should be, or lower than X, Y, or Z. And you can set that up always down, like I said, to the resource or resource group level. And then what you do is you can set up to 3 people per subscription of who to email. You're going to get a notification via email of the alert when there's a cost anomaly. And we look at it every minute, but we only notify you every 24 hours if there's an anomaly. So there's no false positives, okay? If there's an anomaly, we're going to tell you there's an anomaly. And so the most you would get burned would be 1 24-hour period. Now, we've also come, thankfully, to our great customers who came back and said, Chris, I know a lot about machine learning. Can't we convert to machine to predict when there's going to be an anomaly? As a matter of fact, you can, and we can predict up to 7 days in advance of when an anomaly is going to happen, in which subscription, which resource group, and what resource. So you would simply save these settings, and then you're set it and forget it. You don't have to worry about it. You're not monitoring. It's constantly monitoring for you, okay? So let's go over here. I'm going to go back and show you what this looks like. So I'm going to use, I think it was Discovery Scout. I'm going to go back to when we first installed Anomaly in our environment. So we installed Anomaly in our environment like on this day, okay? Now the green is the upper and lower margin for this subscription that the machine learning says this is where you should be, okay? And then where you see red is that, hey, there's an anomaly here. So as soon as we installed it in our subscription called Discovery Scout, it automatically, like I said, went back 60 days. And this is real. This is no joke. This is our internal environment. We went in there, and I was looking at this as the president speaking to the lead developer going, hey, man, what's going on here? I mean, he's like, oh, my God, we just found an anomaly. And this was a human error. We forgot to turn something off. OK, and then you can see we turned it off and it dropped down. So a perfect example. then can filter by, subscriptions, resources. You can search by names, you can search by tags, the dates. You can say, I want to be alerted when somebody creates something, somebody deletes something, or anomalies, or I want to be alerted only on forecasts. So you can choose anything you want from that perspective. And I'm trying to be cognizant of everybody's time here. That's why I'm moving a little quickly. Yeah, and so in here, what you can do is if you came up and said, I want to look at all the anomalies, you could come out and say, great, there's an anomaly here, and you can then click on that. You can see that there was an anomaly. You can see what resources changed. You can take a look at this, and it would give you what the old value is, what the new value is, and help you, reach in to this Microsoft workspace, right, under CSG Sentinel, and say, here's where there was a problem, and it helps you get into that, and really helps you, find out exactly where this is at, in where this anomaly was, in what subscription, what resource group, and what resource it actually was that had a problem. In this case, it was the SQL Server database. So let me show you one other thing here, if you don't mind. I'm just going to jump out here and show you what it would look like. And this is real. I'm going to find somebody. This is a real customer here. I'm just going to just go over here real quick, and I'm just going to show you. I'm sure you can see this. Hopefully you can see this. Let me bring this up here and just show this real quick. So this is what you would you would get. You would get an alert that says, hey, we found this anomaly in your subscription. Here's the name of the subscription. Here's the resource group that we found the anomaly in, as well as the resource, what the expected cost was and what was reported. Now, in this instance, you can see, well, it was only $3. That's okay. But the customer got alerted 25 times in one day for between a $3 and $10 cost anomaly. So when you start adding that up, times 25, it added up to almost like $400 for the day. And if you can manage that over 25 days, as you can see, they got all these 25 days, that would have been a lot of expense. And we grabbed that immediately and showed that. The other thing that we did recently, we had a very large healthcare customer that deployed it. And within, I think, half a day, we spotted an $8,000 anomaly. And it saved them $8,000 a day, and they couldn't believe it. And they already had a lot of tools, including like Turbonomics installed and others. But again, anomaly using the machine learning that is very, that really learns your exact cost patterns, really predicts it. So there we go. That was basically we're just about 5 minutes left in this demonstration. Kevin, hit the next slide if you don't mind. So the first thing is we'd like to say is Anomaly. It's a Microsoft funded service, okay? We at Sirius, we get paid through what they call a partner advisory link. We get a small commission from Microsoft, but we can install this into your environment. Doesn't cost you anything. It's constantly looking on your behalf for any type of cost anomalies. So we really suggest you take a look there and get engaged with it. Doesn't cost much, very easy to install. We really, with what Chris Johnson was talking about with our Azure Glide Path services, how we can look at your environment, see if you have the right VMs installed, very key. And then we also highly suggest that you join the FinOps.org. We think it's a great, community of like-minded people who are trying to get a handle on the finances of cloud. And then the other one, of course, I don't think it's on here, but we also really want you to take a look at the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework as your North Star of IT governance in the cloud. And here at MessageOps and Sirius, we're behind you. We're here. We're a good partner. We want to make sure that we're assisting you along this journey. But again, Inscape Anomaly, if I was to say, I know we built it, but out of all the products, It's the only one that uses machine learning at the cost level that's going to alert you in advance of when an anomaly is going to happen. I don't care. We've had customers, we set up every type of policy, every type of budget, all of these things, but they still said, why the hell? Because you cannot, I don't care what policy you set up, there's still human problems and there's still, program problems. Chris, anything to add? Kevin, anything to add? You want to open up for questions? Because I know we're running just a little bit short on time here.
We are, so now's the best time to ask questions along the way, and we'll try to get Chris to answer them for you. We don't have any right now, Chris, but I'll give these guys just a couple seconds to type things in.
Okay. Okay. Well, if we don't have any, that's great. Do we have somebody?
No, we don't. We're good.
Okay. So we did a good. Hopefully that means we did a good job. But hopefully you guys garnered a few nuggets out of today. We appreciate the hour you spent with us. Hopefully you believe it was a good use of your time. And we look forward to working with you in the future. Chris Johnson, thank you. Kevin Vogel, thank you so much. And we will be recording this and will be sent out if you want to share this with others in your businesses. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great week.
Thanks. Bye.